Okay, everybody, our president, such as he is, called Leonard Leo a sleazebag. Now, this is the guy who runs one of the biggest and nastiest foundations out there, who's really been working hard to disrupt our whole society, our whole democracy. And you would think that would make 45 Taco Bell man, that would make him a friend, that they would be so happy together. But no, guess what? As usually happens, he has turned on the hand that feeds him, right? Let's see how that goes. So, what happened was Leonard Leo's judges, and this is right out of Taco Bell man's mouth. He said, "Your judges suck." Basically, he said, "Your judges were supposed to vote for me. Your judges are supposed to be so conservative, and they didn't vote for me. Therefore, they're terrible, and you're terrible. You did a terrible job of anointing these judges." I mean, basically, he just came right out and said it like, you said that you could get good judges and you got these judges, and I approved one of them. I think the three judges that made him mad, one of them he did approve. Um, so now you're a sleazeback, right? So how is that going to play out for not only these two powerful, I want to say an expletive word, but I probably shouldn't, men? How is that going to play out for us? Like we're like the little people caught in between these two giants that are fighting over our heads and causing all kind of disruption and mayhem in our world. So let's talk about it, right? I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a spirit navigator, and today we're going to be talking politics. I'm going to be talking to my spirit guides and giving them your questions and hopefully getting some good answers for you. So right off the bat, Leonard Leo is mad. He's mad. He's actually very short tempered. I didn't know that. I've never really looked into his energy because, frankly, I was all out of, the hazmat suits and an XL. Don't be talking about the XL part. I like cheese and I like donuts. But anyway, now that I've got the hazmat suit on and I'm looking at Leonard Leo, I'm going to try not to look too hard, y'all. There's stuff in the corners. Nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to see that. And it's not cobwebs. Anyway, he's very short tempered. He's like got a really short temper, a lot like 45, to be honest. And I'm calling him Taco Bell because if you're not familiar, I'm sure you're already familiar with the taco, his taco meme. So Trump always chickens out. That's the meme that's going around because he does the tariffs and then removes the tariffs and then does the tariff. So the financial sector, this isn't Susan or anybody else. This is the financial sector is like these are taco trades, meaning people are betting on the trade based on the Mad King and his, whatever it is, you get a tariff, you don't get a tariff, whatever it is, right? So when we've got a real problem here, but it's really an opportunity, right? Because we have this guy, Leonard Leo, who was in the Federalist Society. I don't know if he's still involved in that, but according to Trump, he's not, but who knows? And they're titans. The spirit guides are calling them titans, and they're going to come to blows. But what I want to know is who's going to win, right? And what I want to know is that going to work in my favor? I want to know if Leonard Leo is going to be one of those strange bedfellows I talked about in my last video with Rand Paul, where for like a split second you're on the same side and you're like, wait, how did this happen? But this is the situation we're in. This is the energy we're in. We just get our hazmat suit on and we just do the thing. So, is Leonard Leo going to become a problem? Is he going to become an opponent? Is the word the guides want to use for the Mad King? He very much is. He very much is. And they're saying that this is interesting, right? They're saying that even if this spat, this little fight that they're having, even if the media says it's no big deal or they appear on stage together or something, it's all a ruse. And Leonard Leo wants him gone. Leonard Leo wants him gone. They just showed me a picture of Vance. So Leonard Leo thinks that he can control Vance better Well, they all think that. They all think that Vance is more cool, calm, and collected. And so there is movement about to move the Mad King out of the way. Not just from Leonard Leo. Obviously, there's other people. Like, again, I keep seeing Jamie Dimon. That's the whatever he is, president, CEO, I don't know what he is, of Chase. They don't like this. This is too much. It's too much destability or instability. Maybe instability is the word. When I'm channeling, I can't always get all the letters in the right way. It's too much instability. There are people making a killing, and that's something the guide showed me a few months ago, right? I talked about it. I said, some people are going to make a lot of money. Like, this isn't just like a crash of the economy. It's actually a summer where there's people that are just going to make a lot of money, and then people that are going to have no money. So it's actually going to be a roller coaster of an economy. And that's what we're seeing, right? Because when we already know that it's pump and dump, that they're pumping up the market, dumping the stocks, they're making money on trades. This is all insider trading, and this is all illegal to the 100th degree. So we know that is happening. This is everybody is talking about this. This is why we have the financial sector calling him Taco, because and Taco trades, because everybody is saying this isn't real. Our stock market is now perilously close. The guides just used the word perilously close to being in an unsupported bubble. Okay. So when I go into, and that doesn't benefit anybody, that doesn't benefit the rich people. And I hate to say it, but the fastest way out of this situation is for the rich people to say, this isn't working for us. We have to break up with you. You know what I mean? And get rid of him, because they can make their phone calls to SCOTUS or to these judges that have been getting campaign donations or whatever it is they've been getting, threats. Who knows what they've been getting? Probably all the above. And say, you need to rule this way. You need to rule that way. The problem is right now is when I go into SCOTUS, which is the Supreme Court, they only rule against the Mad King when it affects their own power. When he tried to step on their power, they're like, no, sir. But when he wants to, like today, they just ruled that you can send people to any country. Like, it doesn't have to be repatriated back to their country. You can send them anywhere. You can send them to El Salvador. You can send them to wherever. We don't care. Sudan. We don't care where you send them, because there is a clause in the Constitution. This is what the guides have been talking about for years, that people like Leonard Leo hired these young scholars out of college and put them up, gave them a nice little house, gave them a nice salary, and said, what your job is to do nothing but pore over the Constitution every single day and find loopholes for everything. Because when you put a magnifying glass to this document, it's Swiss cheese. There's loopholes everywhere. Well, you can't think of everything. That's why it's a living document. That's why we're supposed to be able to put amendments, right? Well, we figured out that's a real problem. We didn't think about that. Or society sure has grown, and now we have these new challenges, and we need to have an amendment. The problem is that we haven't been doing the same thing. There's no democratic think tanks that hire young, bright minds to just say, think about what the Republicans might do, and let's head them off at the pass. We just always counted on civility and tradition, and we didn't count on them driving, the Trojan horse through the biggest loophole in the Constitution. We didn't see that coming. Well, we didn't even look. We didn't even look to see if it was coming. That's part of the problem. Hopefully we've learned that lesson, and we need to be on the offensive, not just on the defensive. Democrats always find themselves on the defensive side of things. Sometimes we need to take the game to them, right? So going back to Leonard Leo, they want to get rid of the Mad King. He's too disruptive. Yes, some people are making a lot of money. It's really what they just showed me is it's really benefiting Congress people. It's benefiting people that know 45, that know the Mad King, because the Mad King puts out his little bat signal, that nobody knows but them, and then they all buy or dump the stock. But does ExxonMobil know? No. Does anybody else know? No. So they're sort of caught in this bust and boom cycle that they don't want to be in. Also, they're really worried. And when I say they, I'm now talking about corporations. They really are worried about the loss of trust, of civic trust. They're really, really worried about the long-term effects of this boom and bust cycle. You can't live like this. This is not something that's sustainable. So they're going, and believe me, corporations, they look 10 years down the road. They don't look 6 months down the road. They're going on the offense. They're like, hey, let's map this out. They can't map it out because how do you map out what's going to happen next week or next month or next year when you have a mad king basically creating havoc in your society and in your economy? So something I have always seen, and I sometimes I wonder if this is hubris on my part, or being too, um, maybe it's something I want more than it's in reality, but something I've always seen is, for me, is a reliance, as I've already said, on these robber baron, these corporations, to be the impetus, the catalyst for changing it all. And for a while there in the last couple of months, I've thought, man, they're enjoying this, right? Like they're not going to actually stand up to this guy. But here we are, right? Couple of months later, things have gotten so much worse. And what the guides have predicted a while back was you guys were going to stop buying things. You're just, no one wants to go out. Well, not no one, but a lot of people don't want to go out and book that vacation or do that home remodel or, spend money, because they feel whether you're spiritual or not, you're human, and we pick up on energy. We get a bad feeling. We don't really call it intuition. We don't really know what we're talking about, but we say, I have a bad feeling about this. That's all of us. And all of us are like, oh, we got a bad feeling about this. Now, add to that the proactive stance that people are taking by saying, not only do I have a bad feeling, but I'm going to proactively boycott companies like Target. That worked. Target felt that pain. They fired two of their CEOs. They're trying to catch their footing. This is what I'm saying. There's this panic that's starting to rumble around these corporations and people like Leonard Leo, and people like Rand Paul, people that you wouldn't normally say are sane or care about citizens. They usually just care about their own viewpoint or their own bottom line. But now they're starting to realize, oh, darn, you mean if humans are upset and they stop buying things that were our bottom line, it's going to be, they never in their wildest dreams, honestly, ever thought there would be an opportunity or a situation where humans would just say, man, we don't want it. We don't, consumption is not something I want to do right now. I don't feel like buying or spending money. We just came out of 4 years of Biden where our economy was hot. No matter how expensive it was, a lot of people were buying products. Now, I know a lot of my viewers are like, you always hit me back and say, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. There's a bigger world out there. And yes, you guys might be on Social Security, you might have limited resources, but there were a lot of people who were willing to spend more, even if it meant going in debt, whatever it meant. That's why the prices weren't coming down, despite whatever Biden was doing, was because people were buying. If you're going to buy a company's products when they're priced higher, they're not going to lower the price. So that's kept prices artificially high. Well, coming off of that, literally like whipsaw, like whiplash, we are now in a place where we're like, nope, we don't want to buy it. We don't care if you put it on sale. We don't want it. And then you add to that the fact that prices are not coming down because of tariffs and shipping and all of the problems that that is causing. So now you're going to have stagflation where the prices are high and people don't want to pay it anyway. So we went from the prices are high and people were paying it to the prices are high and nobody wants it. It's a depression. And I don't know if I mean financial depression, but I definitely mean energetic depression. People are depressed. People don't feel safe. They may not even know why they don't feel safe. They may not even watch the news, but they don't feel comfortable. If you're watching the news, you really don't feel comfortable, right? And if you're watching me, you probably feel even less comfortable. So all of that's going to add up to maybe an economic depression, but for sure an energetic depression. And this is what people like Leonard Leo and Jamie Dimon and all these corporations, like again, they say again, ExxonMobil, this is for some reason, I don't know why they're saying that, but this is why they're starting to get cold feet about this administration. You know, it used to be the energy suggested that, and I've said this many times on videos, that, you know, when ExxonMobil goes into a third world country, they like dealing with dictators because you just pay the dictator whatever they want and you have access to the country. You're dealing with one person, one man. But if you have to go into a democratic country, well, then you've got the will of the voters. And are the voters climate conscious? And all of a sudden you make a deal with the government, but then the government oversteps and the voters are like, no, 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 we don't want that. They toss out that government. And now ExxonMobil or whoever is out as well with the person. So do you understand the difference? If corporation has to deal with voters, you never know what you're going to get. You can't count on a line item budget cost. If you're dealing with a dictator, you just work that into your cost. The same cost that it would be for anything, you just write in dictator, autocrat, whatever, and you put $10 million. Okay, that's part of your operating expenses. But voters, you can't buy them off. So they're hard to work with. So when all this went down, you know, all of these corporations were like, "Oh, we know this is stuff we know how to do, right? We're just going to go kiss the ring, give some money via all these, you know, backdoor channels, whether it's Bibles or a plane or whatever it is, you know, we're going to give you something and then you're going to take care of us." So these corporations are like, oh, we got this, right? This is cool. We like this even better. We don't have to worry about those pesky voters. But guess what? They do have to worry about us because we are the economic engine of the United States. The United States, unfortunately, these days doesn't have a GDP based on producing materials. Our GDP is about buying things. We're shoppers, honey. If we don't shop, this whole economy goes right down the toilet. And now they're realizing, oh snap, oh snap, the American people are getting all feeling in their feelings. They're all feeling some kind of way. And now they're not acting right. We can't predict their behavior. We can't predict their buying habits. That means we are in trouble. Not only are we in trouble, but we are answerable in some cases to our shareholders. Oh no, the shareholders say the CEO's got to go because now our profits are down. So it's all complicated, right? Like, oh, we thought we could just buy this dictator off, but no, that's not what's going to happen. And in reality, you and I have a lot more power than anybody thinks we do. And that's what they want, right? They want us to not think we have power. They want us to think that we're powerless, that we should be depressed, that we should just crawl back into our living rooms and lay on the couch and cry ourselves to sleep. That's not going to happen. We already did that. It didn't work. We're done. That whole phase is over. We're done with that. We're ready now to get in the streets and get loud and really make our voices heard, which is going to further make people like Leonard Leo and all the corporations nervous. So they're going to toss out 45. I feel like, I mean, this could happen. I just look away because sometimes they're showing me a picture or a movie. I feel like this could happen a couple of different ways, and it really depends on what does it depend on? It depends. Okay, okay, right. Okay, okay. So they just said, oh, what is that? What is that web we weave? What a something web we weave? I don't know. Anyway, so what they just showed me was okay, people like Leonard Leo and whoever the oligarchs are, the American oligarchs. If you've watched me, you've heard me explain this whole situation. The American oligarchs don't want their hands dirty. They can't be seen not only siding with the left or siding with democracy. I hate to say it like that, but that's what I'm seeing. But they just can't be seen getting involved. They don't want it to be known that they're the puppet master. Okay? They want to be like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Right? So okay, so whatever. They can have their fantasies, right? Um, so they're going to bring somebody from the outside in to do this. So that's an interesting concept, and I need to be careful here. But so the two routes, and I said two, so we're going to go with that, is through the democracy, through the Constitution. He's either 25th Amendment or impeached. Again, you got these billionaires, these people that can get on the phone and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. SCOTUS, you have to vote this kind of way. That's one way, right? Or, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Congressperson, you're going to have to vote this way. Like, I don't care if you've always voted for him. Guess what? You're going to vote against him because we said so and we pay your bills. Okay. That's what I've always seen. If this was going to go down like that, that's how it would go down. So you might see people like Rand Paul all of a sudden saying, no, I'm not going to go for this, right? Or maybe, who knows, Lindsey Graham, who knows? You might see people turncoat is the word they're using. But I don't know that that's the way it's going to happen because it's too, they're saying it's too messy, and they're saying that it's just too messy. For them, it's too messy. So the other alternative is that an external influence, an external person puts an end to this situation. I really I can't say this in any other way. I hope you understand what I'm saying. An external person comes in and puts an end to the situation. Okay. Now that could be something that is obvious, as in this happened and the news is reporting that this happened, or it could be something less obvious, meaning this happened and Taco Bell was rushed to the hospital, but Taco Bell choked on a cheeseburger, or Taco Bell had a heart attack, or Taco Bell had an aneurysm. These are all things that we've seen. These are all things that Spirit has said is going to happen to him. Okay. This is all things that I predicted. Timing, I don't know. But could those things happen to him and have it be something that was premeditated and not just a natural occurrence of eating too many Big Macs and French fries and Diet Coke? Okay. So you understand what I'm saying here, right? The oligarchs, the American oligarchs, are saying, we can't throw the country that's already in turmoil into more turmoil by doing the legal thing of going against this guy. So we're just going to make him cross over. However it happens, we don't need to know. You don't need to know. Nobody needs to know. If nobody knows, then we're innocent, right? Right? So then they get the guy that they think is more controllable, which is JD. But he's not. He's not controllable because he owes everything to Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel doesn't owe jack nothing to Exxon or Chase or anybody else. Okay. So they basically trade one devil for another. And then they got the same problem, except for that it's even worse because I don't know how to describe that it's worse, but it's worse. It's like it's like Taco Bell Mad King is just like crazy, like just willy-nilly, just doing this and doing that, you know. But Vance is more serious and has his own direction that he wants to go. And that direction is, again, it's not the direction. It is not the direction that the oligarchs want to go. It doesn't solve their problem. They don't have a patsy. I think that's the right word. That's what they called it. They don't have a patsy in office that they can just tell what to do. Vance is like, I don't answer to you. I don't even know who you are. Go take a seat. I answer to that man over there, and we're going to dominate the world. And that, again, literally out of the frying pan into the fire. So that's not good. They're like, oh, now they're, eating rolls of Tums. You know what I mean? Like they're literally getting Tums injected into their veins because they're like, what did we just do? Like, how did this happen? And that leads us to the finale of the show. I'm not saying 100% this is going to happen because, frankly, there's a lot going on. And I was telling somebody this morning, it's really hard to be a psychic right now because I see all the potentials, all the potentials. And a lot of them are scary as anything, like curl your toes, scary, but they're just potentials. So I have to discern which of these potentials has the most energy to connect and become reality, right? So I'm not saying this is 100%, but I'm saying this is a highly favorable potential. That's what they would say. Okay. So the highly favorable potential is that then the finale of the show is that they're like, oh God, Vance is worse. Like this isn't going to work. And the American oligarchs cry uncle. Their arms behind their back because Vance is like making everything worse. And they're like, yeah, we would rather, basically the bottom line is we would rather have a Democrat and we would rather pay higher taxes than this. And we're going to cry uncle. And this is what I always tell you guys, because this is what I've seen. Not saying it's 100%, you guys. I'm not saying that. But I have seen this many times, which means that the favorability of it happening is higher. I've always seen the American oligarchs, whoever those faceless men are, the people that own the corporations, the people like Leonard Leo, one of the Koch brothers is still surviving, whatever they all are, they come together. And Crow, I just saw Harlan Crow, they come together in their little, mean boy group, under cover of darkness, because we all know they're vampires. No offense to vampires. And they say, okay, we got to make a deal. Like we got to make a deal with these Democrats, right? So they go to whoever the Democrat that is the most conservative Democrat that they can find, okay? And they say, we need to make a deal. What do you want? Like, this is the same thing I've seen so many times. What do you want? Like, tell me what you want. Give me your best offer and I'll negotiate a deal with you. That's why I tell you guys, we have to be really ready, because if we're plugged in, okay, if we can continue to be plugged in, even if it's only a couple of times a week, it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be all day. You don't have to doom scroll. Just stay generally plugged in. Then when this opportunity presents itself, we jump on the phones and we start hammering our Democrats, hammering them, saying, if you make a deal that doesn't include these things, right? Like, how many times have I told you guys this, right? Make your list. What is your list? Social Security, right? Medicare, Medicaid, disability, climate change, universal health care, whatever. I don't know what your list is. What is your list? We have to be ready so that when these crackpots, and that is literally the word they used, These crackpots crack. And they're like, okay, let's make a deal because we can't do this, right? We need the American people to be our engine. Yes, we have robots that are going to replace you in 5 years, but right now we need you. Okay. And besides that, I would like to remind them robots don't spend money. And if they want somebody to buy their product, they have to treat humans better. It's something they can't seem to understand. Like Republicans can't seem to get it. Like in the 50s, Americans could buy products, right? But now we can't. And we're getting less and less. We're having to work more and more, which they like. But we're getting tired of that. And we're starting to say, we don't really want all this. Again, consumption. We don't want it. So then you have this opportunity where they're like, okay, we tried, like the guide said in all my videos, right? Like this was an experiment. We tried to overthrow democracy and make, you know, an oligarchy. We tried to have landed gentry. We tried all these things. We gave it our best try. We tried our best. It didn't work. It failed. Now we're here to make a deal. Now they're not coming on their knees. They're not coming on their knees, you guys. They're coming as a tough guy. What do you want? Let's negotiate. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to give you what you want, but let's negotiate. Well, I'm telling you that we're going to flatten that Democrat and we're going to say, oh, right, this is our one opportunity. This is the rebuilding phase that I keep talking about. When we're rebuilding, we can get these things that we want because what they want isn't possible. It's not possible to turn 50 states into landed gentry. It's not possible to turn us into an oligarchy. Once they get through all the people, they've got the governors and then the mayors and then the police chiefs. I mean, it's not possible to do what they want to do. The faster they figure that out, the faster we get through this. And how we help them figure that out is by not buying their products, is by supporting each other, is by showing up to support each other. Okay, that's how we get through this so quick. But I want you to also keep in mind what is your wish list and continually remind your Democrats we can have universal health care. We can have Social Security paid for the next 100 years. Rich people have to pay their price. Every time you talk to somebody, rich people need to pay taxes. Even if you're talking to a Republican, even if you're talking to a MAGA, are they going to disagree with that? Like, can we find common ground here? Don't you think rich people should pay taxes? Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Hey, guess what? We agree. And then walk away. That's it. Drop that little nugget that's going to be a time bomb in their brain so that it can finally dissolve slowly and maybe work against all of that cult addled Kool-Aid they've been drinking. Because when you drop a little seed like that, it takes root. Maybe in a day, maybe in a week, maybe in a month. But at some point, they're going to be like, yeah, these people should be paying taxes. Well, they don't even remember you said anything to them because you did exactly what the Republicans have been doing. You dropped a little seed in their brain and it's going to take root. So, this is how we're going to get through this and come out the other side. The more we do these things, the better off we're going to be because we're all going to be in the street. And I've said this many times too, that we're all in the streets protesting together. And I back into somebody and I turn around and they've got like a MAGA shirt with an X through it, or, maybe a picture of the Mad King with like something in his head. I don't know. And I'm like, whoa, it's like, yeah. And they're like, that. And then we realize who the problem is. The problem is not me. The problem is not them. The problem is the rich people. And all of this is backed up by astrology, which I can't tell you exactly how, but I can tell you that it is. And I can tell you that we're going into the energy of the French Revolution. Look it up and see what happened. It had something to do with guillotines, I think. Okay. So, and the people, let them eat cake. They don't even have bread. They don't have nothing. This is the energy we're going into. Okay. So that's why all this is kind of coming to a head in this way. And with that, I'm going to end this video because I'm doing several videos that are shorter in length of time, focus on smaller number of topics. Let me know if you think that works. Let me know if that's working for you. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you have any other answers or anything at all. Your thoughts. Let me know in the comments, okay? We're going to get through this together. It's not going to be pretty. I'm not going to shellac this with any kind of sugar. It is not going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty yucky, but we get through it. We get to the other side and we get to rebuild our society and our democracy. And we get to actually have an opportunity to get things we really, really want. Let's not let them off the hook. Let's be on the offense. Let's start telling Democrats what we want. Let's start saying, let's start protesting. Rich people should pay taxes. We could have a whole protest just on that. What if every week you shared a meme about rich people paying taxes and that was good enough, right? That was your work. This is how we do it. There's millions of us, right? We can do this work. There's a lot more of us than there are of them. I'll tell you that. And they know that, and that keeps them up at night. So let's use it to our advantage. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested, let me remind you about my free online community, Lightkeepers Crew, Lighthouse Keepers Crew. I can do it. Go to my website, susanlemedium.com. I'll put that on the screen. I'll put it in the description. I have 2 online communities and I have a class coming up. All that information is down below. And take really, really good care of yourself. Okay. That's one of the reasons for the community, right? Like, because sometimes we just need to go to a place where we can speak our mind, where we can feel supported, where we can feel like we have trusted people around us. And that makes all the difference in the world, right? So if you don't find that in my community, please find a community for you, wherever that is. In your local area, look up Democrats, join them. How we get out of this is community, is sticking by each other, supporting each other. This is the lesson we're supposed to learn. And this is how we get through this the fastest way possible. Okay. Take really good care of yourself. I'll see you again really soon. Don't forget to subscribe. For entertainment purposes only.